Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode, we're talking about the Drakewarden Ranger, which comes to us from Fizbans' Treasury of Dragons. This is a newer subclass, so it's very exciting to get into. If you like what we do here, please like, share, and subscribe. Keep commenting. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to get involved in what you guys are doing, the kinds of stories you guys are telling, and how you're playing out and building these characters. I love it. It's so great to know that there are like-minded individuals out there. Speaking of which, today's episode is a little bit special as we are produced by D-Span. D-Span is a YouTube channel. It deals a lot about health and you know, getting your body back into a place that's good for you, health-wise, mentally, emotionally. It's considering where we are in the world right now, a lot of people kind of need that, and it's a great way because he himself is actually starting his journey after he kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, but he's trying to rebuild himself back to a way that he was more content with and satisfied and fix up his lifestyle. I absolutely 100% can relate. He's a great guy. He's got a lot of other videos covering a lot of topics. Please, if you're interested, just getting a little bit healthier, getting back into shape, or losing some weight, he's got a lot of experience, and if you jump in right now and start following him, you can see him go from a place where he's not in the best shape that he's been in, and he's trying to get to where he wants to be. So I really encourage you guys to check him out if that's something you're interested in. His link will be in our description. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. The Drakewarden Ranger comes to us from Fizbans' Treasury of Dragons, and it's basically like a dragon knight, which is something I'm going to touch up on a couple of times as we go through this video. It has a great flavor text that goes as follows. Your connection to the natural world takes the form of a draconic spirit, which can manifest in physical form as a drake. As your power grows, your drake grows as well, blossoming from a small four-legged companion to a majestic winged creature, large and strong enough for you to ride. Along the way, you get increasing share in the awe-inspiring power of dragons. This is a very cool concept because you're starting out with something that reflects where your stance is power-wise, and you can see that grow and change. And some of the things I'm going to mention here are going to involve mounting and using your drake to ride it, and I'm going to get into that when we get to that point. But understand that this is something that grows with you. In a lot of ways, this is kind of what the Beastmaster was supposed to be, and I think all the constant revisions from it ultimately led us to a point where they were like, let's just give him a dragon and just let it happen. And I think this is a really great incarnation of that, and it really fits that theme. So you really get to you get to do a lot of cool things that you couldn't with anything else. And I'll get into a little bit of depth about that. But understand that there's this real deep connection between you and your dragon spirit and your drake and what that means for you. So really get involved with it and really take on this role of protecting it and nourishing and nurturing what you want that drake to be. Because you can be a vicious beast if you want it to be, or you can be more like a real companion or pet, you know, and you can really play that role out, and it's fun to have that kind of real closeness. At 3rd level, you gain access to Draconic Gift. This is an automatic ability. This is part of the other 3rd level ability that you get. It reads as follows. The bond you share with your drake creates a connection to DragonCon, granting you understanding and empowering your presence. You gain the following benefits. You learn the thaumaturgy cantrip, which is a ranger spell for you. You learn to speak, read, and write Draconic or one other language of your choice. I understand if you already know Draconic, picking in another language, it's really beneficial. I know I've played a lot of games where DMs really don't incorporate the importance of languages, but understand by the lore and the kind of the way the world of Dungeons and Dragons is written, Draconic is actually a very important language to know. Specifically if you're a wizard, because a lot of the ancient magics and scrolls and spell books and things like that are written in Draconic. Basically, if it's above ground and it's not Elvish or Giants, it's Draconic, the language that everything is written in. That's ancient, like before really humans started building their empires. So there's a lot of importance of the Draconic as a language, and languages in general are usually important. It's a great thing to incorporate, especially if you need to keep secrets from your players or you're not ready for them to learn something. So feel free to really get involved in using languages. It's a great thing to do. And thaumaturgy, really, if you ever saw Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf is talking to Bilbo in the beginning of the first movie and he gets all big and the lights get dark and he gets all scary looking, that's thaumaturgy. That's kind of what it's built to be. So when they say that it grants you and empowers your presence, that's what it means. To get that moment of just like, you just almost like you grow in size because the light changes and it causes that fluctuation or that appearance of a fluctuation, and your eyes can change color. Like it's supposed to be a scary thing or an awe-inspiring thing. So please feel free to use this, especially when you're talking to people, because it can create that gravitas to your character, that weight behind your words. And again, you're a ranger, so charisma isn't usually your strong suit, but this can help maybe convince your DM to let you roll with advantage in scenarios like that. So don't toss it to the side. Again, it's really for role-playing moments. So try and really lean into it, study it, see if you can come up with creative things to do with it. At 3rd level, you gain access to Drake Companion. This is the signature ability of the Drakewarden. This is why you're here. There is a stack block for it. I will go over it in bits and pieces as to what's important. A lot of it is just numbers and things like that, but I'll try and see if I can list it in the description. The Drake Companion text reads as follows. You can magically summon the Drake that is bound to you. It appears in an unoccupied space of your choice within 30 feet. The Drake is friendly to you and your companions, and it obeys your command. Whenever you summon the Drake, choose a damage type listed in its Draconic Essence trait, and you determine the cosmetics of the characteristics of the Drake, such as its color, scale texture, or other visible effects of the Draconic Essence. Your choice has no effect on the statistics. In combat, the Drake shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but it can only take the dodge action unless you use a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. That action can be one of its stat blocks or another action. If you are incapacitated, the Drake can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. The Drake remains until it is reduced to 0 hit points, until you use this feature to summon the Drake again, until you die. Anything the Drake is wearing or carrying is left behind when the Drake vanishes. Once you summon the Drake, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of level 1 or higher to do so. So there's a little bit to unpack here. Understand that changing the type of the Draconic Essence is really like kind of Dragonborn and their ancestry, where you can have any of the different elements tied to the dragon. It's important because later on when they get in higher levels, that's going to make a bigger difference on their attacks and what they can do. The one ability that I am going to go over is Infused Strikes. While another creature is within 30 feet of the Drake that it can see hits a target with the weapon attack, the Drake infuses the strike with its essence, causing the target to take an extra 1d6 damage of the damage type by its Draconic Essence. It's a lot to unpack, so we're going to do this a little bit piece by piece. So first and foremost, you have to use your bonus action to cause it to attack. I get it, bonus actions, depending on how you want to build your ranger, is kind of important. Immediately people are thinking about Hunter's Mark and using that, or 2-weapon fighting and using that. It is important to understand that when you're playing this kind of a ranger, the Drake should really take ownership of your bonus action because of what it can do. Yeah, Hunter's Mark is great because you can get a couple of extra d6s depending on how many times you attack. Understand the Drake will eventually and very quickly outweigh that. So don't be too worried about it. When you get this ability, you're only doing 1 attack unless you're using 2-weapon fighting anyway. So it's not that big of a miss to add on that regular attack or hitting. Secondly, you can just summon it. It does not need to be around you constantly. It's not like the Beastmaster pet that has to be with you at all times, in which case you're faced with scenarios, well, you can't bring animals into the castle. You know what I mean? Like, certain things are problematic. But this, you can just summon it. So you can be your own entity at times unless you need to do so. The summoning, and you can't summon it again until you finish a long rest thing, is a little bit odd because maybe you want to just have the Drake disappear for a little bit. Maybe you need him to go away for something. Having him just, run off or later on fly away it's kind of hard to do, so you kind of got to be smart when you have it and when you don't. So try and take use of that. Try and work that out with your DM, the wording of it, because I think it can be very confusing and a little bit of, restricting in a way that's not fun for everyone. Later on, when you get to a higher level, the initiative count thing with it going right behind you is going to work out better for what it can do, but that's something that's going to happen a little later on in the as you level up. Outside of that, it is a strong companion. It does have a strong AC when you get it. It does have like 17 or 16 at least, and it raises with your proficiency bonus. And its HP is okay. It's not supposed to be great. It is not your tank. It is an addition to your damage. So remember that when using it and what things you're going to be doing with it later. At 7th level, you gain access to Bond of Fang and Scale. The text reads, the bond you share with your Drake intensifies, protecting you and stoking the Drake's fury. When you summon the Drake, it grows wings on its back and gains flying speed equal to its walking speed. In addition, your Drake, when it's summoned, gives you and itself the following benefits. The Drake grows to medium size, reflecting your special bond, and you can use the Drake as a mount. If your size is medium or smaller, while you are riding the Drake, it cannot use the flying speed. Magic Fang. Your Drake's bite deals an additional 1d6 damage of the chosen type of Draconic Essence. And Resistance. You gain resistance to the damage type chosen for the Drake's Draconic Essence. Understand, this is a big moment for a Drakewarden. This is when your character really hits that I'm something awesome. This is that big moment for the character. The Magic Fang, doing 2d6 damage when it does its attack, covers your bonus action Hunter's Mark, unless you're using 2-weapon fighting and attacking 3 times. I would not build this ranger that way. I would definitely go dueling, simply because of mounted combat. Now, when you're mounted, you have a choice of having complete control of your mount or the mount having independent control. It's eligible for independent control if its intelligence is above a certain number, which this Drake definitely gets, as it has an intelligence of 8. You don't want to have complete control over the Drake, because if you do, it does not gain the availability to take its actions. So you want to keep that bonus action so your Drake can keep attacking. But if you really wanted to be a Dragon Knight, you need a lance. And what's great about it is when you use the lance mounted, you use it one-handed. So you can use a shield in the other hand and a lance and still gain the dueling fighting style added onto your damage, which is pretty good, which makes the lance like the single highest weapon damage you can do, because it would be 1d12 plus 2. The max is very high. So it's very, very cool. It's one of the few times you really get to use that. And you can just pocket the lance and use a sword or an axe or whatever it is when you're using normally. The resistance is great. You have to know where you're going if you're more worried about surviving it than you are dealing damage. So you got to play with that a little bit, because if you're going into a fire cavern, yeah, having fire resistance is going to be very, very good for you, but your Drake's fire is not going to help you offensively. So think about those things and really try to work well with what you want to bring when you're doing whatever it is. So you and both the Drake gain this resistance. So think about that when you're in scenarios, or when you're with casters around where you might want to have additional resistances just to survive certain circumstances. It's a good thing to think about. Again, mounting a creature and fighting while mounted has a specific rule set to it. Definitely go over that. Definitely go over that with your DM. It is important that you both are on the same page as this, because it can cause a little bit of confusion, especially with the two different types of controlling your mounted animal. At 11th level, you gain access to Drake's Breath. As an action, you can exhale a 30-foot cone of damaging breath, or cause your Drake to exhale it. Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage. Personal favorite. Each creature in the cone must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, taking 8d6 damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. The damage type does not have to match the Drake's Draconic Essence, and the damage increases to 10d6 when you reach 15th level in this class. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use it again. Breathing Fire. Awesome. You can do it from whatever angle you want if you and your Drake are not riding each other and on different sizes of the map. You can really angle this however you want. It is an action to cast, and it comes off of your action. So you can do this and have your Drake attack afterwards using your bonus action. It has the same damage dice as Fireball, so it is very, very good. It is a very strong damage type. You do not gain damage like this from spells as a ranger. And it ups to 10d6 when you reach 15th level. I get it, you might not be playing a lot of games that you reach 15th level, but being able to do this much damage in an area that's a 30-foot cone, which is a huge area, is incredibly valuable. That is a great AoE attack. You don't really have a lot of really, really effective ones that you can really dole out like this. Depending on how you are with your ranger spells, and this is something I really got to talk to people and really go over a little bit more. Rangers have a lot of unique spells. If you really look at their spells, they're more like skills or techniques or sword techs or things like that. Where you get a lot of things that bolster your attack that you don't necessarily need wisdom for, because it goes off of your attack, like Zephyr Strike and things like that. These benefits and these spells really decide what your ranger does later on. If you're going to be a traditional ranger standing in the back and shooting, then there's Swift Quiver and things like that that you might want to get. But if you're going to be looking to use this ability, investing in your wisdom is definitely worth it. You do have medium armor, you do have a D10 hit dice, so you will have a lot of survivability built into your kit. And if you wanted to build a Dragon Knight, using a lance and a shield is going to really benefit you a lot. So you might have a lot more survivability based on how you want to build your character. So putting some extra points into wisdom are going to be very, very beneficial to you, especially when you can get more people to get hit by this attack. Again, they're going to take half damage if they miss, but you want to get everything out and hit as many people as possible. You're breathing fire like a dragon. You know, like I can't take this away from any level of awesomeness. It's awesome. You can have your dragon in the air raining this attack down. Think about that. That changes your landscape a little bit of how you can use this, and it can be very tactical. The smarter the person you are, the more the DM's going to hate this ability. So try and take it easy on them, but make sure you use advantage of not always staying on the ground when you can fly. At 15th level, you gain access to Perfect Bond. Your bond with your Drake reaches the pinnacle of its power. While your Drake is summoned, you and the Drake gain the following benefits. The Drake's Bite deals an extra 1d6 damage of the chosen type for its Draconic Essence, which is a total of 2d6 extra damage. This empowered bite does 1d6 plus your proficiency bonus, plus 2d6 of whatever element you choose for its draconic essence. And again, that's going to be a bonus action for you to do. Large Drake. The Drake grows to large size. When you ride the Drake, it is no longer prohibited from using flying speed of the Bond of Fang and Scale. So now you both can fly. Reflective resistance. When either you or the Drake takes damage while you're within 30 feet of each other, you can use your reaction to give yourself or the Drake resistance to that instance of damage. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses whenever you finish a long rest. I mentioned the Dragonknight. I mentioned using a lance. I want to talk about jumping off the Drake with your lance in order to impale somebody underneath you. You gotta do it. You might not want to do it. You might think that's a little crazy. There's probably a lot of other enemies around in the area. But let me tell you something. You have a responsibility as a man or woman or anything in between that's riding a dragon to use it to throw yourself in the middle of combat like a crazed animal. You gotta do it at least once. You have to. And if you're coming down with a lance, the thematics behind it is worth it. I don't care what the repercussions are. You have to do it. That's really what makes you a Dragon Knight. Especially if you're a fan of the old school Final Fantasy games. The jump ability is right there. You have to do it. It's perfect. And then as you're falling, if you get that hit, you use the Drake's ability to give you the added damage bonus on your attack. If you're not so tempted just to do that, I think you're missing out on a great opportunity. Yeah, it's crazy, dangerous, and you should never do it. But you're going to do it, and you should feel very good about it. When a creature is large, understand the dynamics of that. Even if you look on the map like you are within 5 feet of each other, you definitely are not. So you will need something with reach to hit something close to you, which is why the lance is great. The empowered bite is great because it's just additional damage that stacks on. I mean, really, you've been gaining d6s for damage for a little bit, so you have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of great stuff. And you still have things like your Hunter's Mark if you want to use it, or the Tasha's favorite enemy ability if you wanted to use that. So your damage it's not necessarily always going to look high, but the amount of d6s and other regular damage dice that you're going to be throwing around the table is going to really up that damage. And when you see a lot of people, you fly up on your Drake and you lay down some of that fire. It's totally worth it. It's very, very exciting. Our final thoughts. This subclass is incredible. The things you get to do, the customizability of your Draconic Essence really fluctuates whenever you feel like it. And it's a great dynamic change. It's very, very cool to have this as an entity that can kind of swirl around and always be there whenever you need it, because it's an essence and a spirit, which is very, very cool. The abilities are awesome. It gives you the perfect mounted combat ability. It gives you this great mount, this great pet, this great companion that just works so well with who your character is. And you can build this awesome, scary Dragon Knight and then fly up and just impale your enemies by jumping off like a wild man. Like it's so cool what you can do. The fact that you can breathe fire, the fact that you can make your Drake breathe fire, just the sheer amount of things you can do with this is incredible. The Drake gets pretty tanky as far as armor class is concerned, and the availability to have resistances to damage is a big benefit. It can hang on for a long time, and it doesn't always need to be by you. It can fly away, come in, swing, fly back at its next turn or whatever it is. It can't take bonus actions for disengage and things like that, but understand an enemy has to know whether it's more important to hit one of you and your party members or hit the dragon. So it's whatever, even if it does get hit, it's one hit your party didn't take. So understand there is a certain love and admiration for it, but there's a certain cold distance that you might need to sacrifice it from time to time for the benefit of the party. Also, when it's large, I'd argue that, yeah, you can let other people ride it as well when you are not riding it, which might be very valuable in case someone needs to get saved. So there's a lot of tactical advantages to it. It's just a cool... thematically, it is awesome. You get to really build something that you won't be able to play with other subclasses. And it's cool, and it's the coolest dragon-oriented subclass so far. Like, I think it is awesome. I think it's great. I think Rangers are highly overlooked, and this is a great way to bring that forward. So, I know this was a long one, and we're going to bring this video to a close. Thank you so much for staying this far. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. A big thank you for D-Span for producing us and really helping other people really better their lives and make healthier alternatives and make yourself feel better about yourself, which is something that's really, really important. And this is a great way to do that. When you feel good on the inside and you see that on the outside, it can sometimes help all the things that you're trying to hide from. So it's very important to take care of yourself. I encourage you, please check the comments, and the description for a link to D-Span. And if you're looking to try and do something where you're trying to get healthier, follow him, because he's starting from scratch, and there's a good thing knowing that someone else is doing the same things and having the same struggles as you, and trying to get you motivated to keep overcoming them and trying to keep themselves motivated as well. It's a great way to build a community. And again, thank you so much for sticking through, and thank you so much for giving a spooky kid a chance.